This third kind of schedule is in development. I'll work on it on a daily basis. Up to 25. So 12 per pot, starting with the purport up to 25. सर्वशास्त्रार्थी पीयूष सर्ववेद सत्फला सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैक प्रदा सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलिध्वांतोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवर्षक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमस्तुमे मदेक बंधो मत्संगिन मद्गुरो मन्महाधन मन्निस्तारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमोस्तुते साधु साधुतादायन अतनीचोच्युताकर आनमुंचि कदाचिन माम प्रेमना हृत्कंठयोस्पुर ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. Okay, so looks like I've been through all of this. So let me start with the purport. Vidura gave Dhritarashtra very good counsel. This is Vidura advising Dhritarashtra to not engage in a war with the Pandavas because Pandavas were already devotees of Lord Krishna. Vidura gave Dhritarashtra very good counsel regarding political alliance with the sons of Pritha, the Pandavas. The first thing he said was that Lord Krishna was intimately related with them as their cousin, because Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is worshipable by all Brahmanas and demigods, who are the controllers of the universal affairs. Besides that, Lord Krishna and his family members, the royal order of the Yadu dynasty, were the conquerors of all kings of the world. So this is from the political point of view. The Kshatriyas used to fight the kings of various dominions and kidnap their beautiful princess daughters after conquering their relatives. This system was laudable because the Kshatriyas and the princesses would be married only on the basis of the chivalry of the conquering Kshatriya. All the young princes of the Yadu dynasty married the daughters of other kings in this way by chivalrous force. And thus, they were conquerors of all the kings of the world. So they are conqueror not only in the sense of actually taking over and in the political sense going on top of the org chart, not just like that, but also because they had married in this manner. Their very marriage was on the basis of Virya Shulka. They had purchased the girls as their brides using their heroism, their chivalry, their virya. Vidura wanted to impress upon his elder brother that fighting with the Pandavas was fraught with many dangers, was filled with many dangers, because they were supported by Lord Krishna, who had conquered even in his childhood demons like Kamsa and Jarasandha, and demigods like Brahma and Indra. Therefore, all universal power was behind the Pandavas. This is brought out here in just in one verse. In Mahabharata, this goes for so many chapters. All these discussions go on. In Bhagavatam clarifies the Mahabharata in different ways. Vyasadeva has represented relevant history and giving clarity on certain things that overlap with the Mahabharata. Then 13. Sesh doshah purushad bidaste grihan pravishtoyam apatyamatya Krishnasi Krishna vimikho gatashris Tyajashva Shaivam Kula Kaushalaya. You are maintaining offense personified Duryodhana as your infallible son. But he is envious of Lord Krishna. And because you are thus maintaining a non-devotee of Krishna, you are devoid of all auspicious qualities. Relieve yourself of this ill fortune as soon as possible and do good to the whole family. Duryodhanaha tanna manyate iti ched. And if the Dhritarashtra were to say, but Duryodhana will not accept your political counsel. So then Vidura, anticipating that, says, Saesha Murto Dosheva, he is the very personification of all evil. Khan Pravishta Aste. He has somehow or other entered this house and he's staying here. Doshatve Hetuhu. And the reason for him being that problem, being that evil, Purushadvait. Sri Krishna Dveshta. He hates Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Purusha. So, who is that? And what is the nature of this Dhritarashtra that he is addressing? Yam tvam apatyamatya pushnasi na to apatyamasau. He is actually, you are considering him to be your apatya. Apatya means a son, literally. It has a further connotation. It means one who prevents you from falling down. A very, very scientific arrangement. Na apatatyasmaditi he apatyam prahuhu. The authorities say that apatya means the very Sanskrit word apatya means the one because of whom you will not fall down. You will not go to hell after you die. Gatashriryasmansatvam iti akroshati. So he chastises Dhritarashtra, saying that you have lost your auspiciousness. Ataha enam ashaiva amangalam ashutyaja. So quickly give up this auspiciousness in the form of Duryodhana. Tatham putraha tyajyaha. Now, how am I supposed to give up my son? Traha. Anticipating that he says, Kulasya Kaushalaya. For the auspiciousness, for the good of the dynasty, family. Yajedekam Kulasya Arthe Itihi Nyaya. It's an ordinary worldly principle of morality that you can give up one person for the sake of the whole family. Atputro Duryodhana Pratipatshyate. So he is thinking that the Dhritarashtra would come. This thing just cancel. Let me just check whether I can switch over to another network. I'll try out with Geo, see if it comes. Just wait. Change it. Okay. Can you hear me? Am I audible? A different network.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, two. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
yes,
What is this? Wild? It's just restarting by itself. Ghost entered into it. Yeah. If it still gives problem, then I'll have to use, then how? I'll have to use a tablet. But in the tablet, I don't know how to, I'll not be able to show the previous Acharya's commentaries. I have to figure out some other way. Okay, anyway, I'll just resume. But koti janma krita dushkrita phalabhuta iti arthaha. This Duryodhana is a very personification of evil, meaning it's a personification of the sins that you have committed for 1 crore janmas, 1 crore births. When we see expressions like this, only we understand the extent of how much our sinful reactions can go. And it is said, both Srila Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mention in their commentary to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that actually this papa, the sinful reactions we have, that is unlimited. So it looks like it goes for like crores of janma also. Dosha murta eva yataha purusham parameshwaram dveshti. Because he hates the Purusha, which means the Supreme Purusha. Atrapi tava grihan bahyan abhyantaran manobuddhi adi rupan api pravishta evaste. And he is staying at your home. Here, grihan is used in the plural. It is very interesting. Staying in your homes. Grihan Prabhupada translates it as household. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur indicates that this refers to Duryodhana staying outside at Dhritarashtra's home or palace or whatever. So Kshatriyas had many, many buildings and places and all that. And he is the crown prince, so naturally he'll be having all that. But beyond that, he was also in Dhritarashtra's mind, intelligence, and so on. Tatrapi tvam tam ushnasi. And on top of it, you're nourishing him. Tatrapi apatyamatya. And that also by considering him your apatya. Na hi asav apatyam, na patati asmaditya apatyam iti nirukte. But he is not an apatya. Ateva na tvam anumiyase. Krishnadimukha gatashrihi iti lakshmihi tava grihebhya nistritya gata iti janihi. So you should understand that you have lost auspiciousness. You have lost auspiciousness because of becoming averse to Lord Krishna. Tarki kotra pratikara. What is the measure of counteraction? What can be done to neutralize it? Traha ashu shighram ashaiva mangalam enam tyaja. The solution is just get rid of your son. Maya pitra putrasya tyage matkule kalankah syat. Because then he would otherwise be a contamination. Kulasyeva kaushalaya kushalaya yajedegam kulasyarte iti nyaya nyatha kulameva sarvam te nangshiyati iti bhavaha. It's for the good of your family that I'm telling you this. Otherwise, he is going to destroy your entire family. It happened. A good son is called apatya, one who does not allow his father to fall down. The son can protect the father's soul when the father is dead by offering sacrifices to please the Supreme Lord Vishnu. This system is still prevalent in India. After the death of his father, the son goes to offer sacrifices at the lotus feet of Vishnu at Gaya and thus delivers the father's soul if the father is fallen. But if the son is already an enemy of Vishnu, how in such an inimical mood can he offer sacrifice unto Lord Vishnu's lotus feet? Lord Krishna is directly the personality of Godhead Vishnu, and Duryodhana was inimical to him. He would therefore be unable to protect his father Dhritarashtra after his death. He himself was to fall down because of his faithlessness towards Vishnu. How then could he protect his father? Vidura advised Dhritarashtra to get rid of such an unworthy son as Duryodhana as soon as possible if he was at all anxious to see the good of his family, according to the moral instructions of Chanakya Pandit. What is the use of a son who is neither a learned man nor a devotee of the Lord? If a son is not a devotee of the Supreme Lord, he is just like blind eyes, a source of trouble. A physician may sometimes advise the extrication of such useless eyes from their sockets so that one can be relieved of the constant trouble. Duryodhana was exactly like blind, troubling eyes. He would be a source of great trouble to the family of the Dhritarashtra as foreseen by Vidura. Vidura, therefore, rightly advised his eldest brother to get rid of this source of trouble. Dhritarashtra was wrongly maintaining such personified offense under the mistaken impression that Duryodhana was a good son, able to liberate his father. One minute. Position this. Question.
Regarding apatya, so what means by offering pinda, does the forefathers they don't have to go to hell or what exactly? How
Yeah, they
it
do
seems
not have to. It is prayaschitta, no? It is some kind of prayaschitta. Prayaschitta prevents you from going to hell.
But by the time pinda is offered, like there is some time no, after death when pinda will be offered. So till then he would have gone to hell, no?
That's okay. See, if he's on the way to hell, or he is scheduled to experience hellish life for 1,000 years, if he receives these kind of pious credits, then he will be relieved from that. Because there are several effects. First, what goes to hell, it's a subtle region within a gross region, actually. So he experiences different things. And then afterwards, he has to be given a gross body. So even if he is given a gross body like Vena, after attaining a hellish situation, finally he was born as some Chandala or something. Prithu Maharaj did some activity by which he would no longer have to continue to be like that. These births as a Chandala and all is not for one lifetime. This punishment goes for several lifetimes. It's a very complicated mess.
Thank you.
Okay. 14. इत्युचिवांस्तत्र सुयोधनेन प्रवृद्धकोपस्फुरिताधरेण असत्कृतसत्स्पृहणीयशील क्षत्ता सकर्णानुज सौबलेन. While speaking thus, Vidura, whose personal character was esteemed by respectable persons, was insulted by Duryodhana, who was swollen with anger and whose lips were trembling. Duryodhana was in company with Karna, his younger brothers, and his maternal uncle Shakuni. इत्युचिवान् एवम् उक्तवान् असौ क्षत्ता विदुरः सतां स्पृहणीयं शीलं यस्य स कर्ण दुःशासन शकुनी सहितेन दुर्योधनेन असत्कृतः तिरस्कृतः. So when he spoke like that, Duryodhana he dealt with this. In fact, he criticized him. Viduraha Suyodhanena asatkritaha tiraskritah. Karna Dushasana Shakuni Sahitena. Along with Karna, Dushasana and Shakuni, Suyodhana is a name of Duryodhana, criticized Vidura as follows. That's understood. It is said that giving good counsel to a foolish person causes the fool to become angry, just as feeding milk to a snake only increases its venomous poison. Saint Vidura was so honorable that his character was looked up to by all respectable persons. But Duryodhana was so foolish that he dared to insult Vidura. This was due to his bad association with Shakuni, his maternal uncle, as well as with his friend Karna, who always encouraged Duryodhana in his nefarious acts. Karna is an evil person, he is not some good soul. 15. Ka enam matropa juhava jihmam dasya sutam yad bali naiva pushta tasmin pratipah parakritya aste nirvasyatamashu purat shwasana. Who asked him to come here? The son of a kept mistress. He is so crooked that he spies in the interest of the enemy against those on whose support he has grown up. Toss him out of the palace immediately and leave him with only his breath. Tiraskaramaha. This is that criticism. Dasisuto hi atra ahvana anarhaha. He is the son of a maidservant. So he is unfit for being called to this assembly. Jihmascha kutilaha. On top of it, he is also a crooked person. Jihmata. Aha. And his crookedness is explained. Yasya balina annena pushtaha tasmineva pratipaha pratikulaha paresham karye vartate. He is nourished by our food and he is engaged in the interests of our opponents. Ataha Puran nirvasitam. So throw him out of this city. Shvasana, Shwasan, Jivamatra Shesha ityartha. Let's keep him alive. Pathantare Shmashanavad Mangala. There is a variant reading. Instead of Shwasanaha, Shmasanaha comes, which indicates that Duryodhana wants to say that he is as inauspicious as a burial ground or a crematorium. Kayena matra Maharaja Sadasi Ajuhava iti Avahana Anarham iti bhava. The implication is Vidura is unfit to come to this assembly of the great king. Tatra hetu. The reason for that, Dasya Sutamiti Janmanayava Dushtam. Because he is defective by birth itself. He is after all the son of a Dasi, Jihmam, Kutilam. And by activity, he is crooked. Karmanapi Kautalyamaha. And how by activity he is crooked, that is now pointed out here. Swaswamini Pratipaha Pratikulaha. His interests are in line with our opponents and not in line with his own master, meaning the one who is maintaining him. Ataha ayam atra stitaha sarvam eva asmat kulam nashayitum yatishyate iti bhava. The implication is, so if he's here like this, then he will endeavor to destroy our entire family. Trapi ashu ma vilambena tatrapi shvasanaha shvasamatra avashishta iti sa bahuvetra praharam iti bhavaha. So he said, just throw him out while he's alive. This indicates that he had weapons in hand and he was threatening. Shmashana iti paati shmashanavad amangaloyam kena asmad griha madhya anita yo ma evam amangalam bhakti. This person himself is inauspicious like a crematorium and he has come to my house. Actually, he's been brought to my house. We only allowed him to come. So he's brought to our house. And he's calling me inauspicious. Ataha ashu nishkasyatam. So get rid of him quickly. Anyatha rajapuram idam shmasanam eva karishyati iti bhava. Otherwise, his entire royal city will be made inauspicious like a crematorium. That is the implication here. When getting married, the Kshatriya kings would take on several other youthful girls along with the married princesses. These girl attendants of the king were known as dasis or attendant mistresses. By intimate association with the king, the dasis would get sons. Such sons were called dasi putras. They had no claim to a royal position, but they would get maintenance and other facilities just like princesses. Vidura was the son of such a dasi, and he was thus not counted amongst the Kshatriyas. King Dhritarashtra was very affectionate toward his younger Dasiputra brother, Vidura, and Vidura was a great friend and philosophical advisor to Dhritarashtra. Duryodhana knew very well that Vidura was a great soul and well-wisher, but unfortunately he used strong words to hurt his innocent uncle. Duryodhana not only attacked Vidura's birth, but also called him an infidel, traitor, because he seemed to support the cause of Yudhishthir, whom Duryodhana considered his enemy. He desired that Vidura be immediately put out of the palace and deprived of all his possessions. If possible, he would have liked him caned until he was left with nothing but his breath. He charged that Vidura was a spy of the Pandavas because he advised King Dhritarashtra in their favor. Now, in the Mahabharata, Duryodhana always presented himself as being dharmic. Always considered himself to be dharmic. Such is the situation of palace life and the intricacies of diplomacy that even a faultless person like Vidura could be charged with something abominable and punished. Vidura was struck with wonder at such unexpected behavior from his nephew Duryodhana. And before anything actually happened, he decided to leave the palace for good. 16. Swayam dhanur dwarin nidhaya mayam bhratuh puro marmusu taditopi sa itham matyul banakarna banai gatavyatho ya uru manayana. Thus, being pierced by arrows through his ears and afflicted to the core of his heart, Vidura placed his bow on the door and quit his brother's palace. He was not sorry, for he considered the acts of the external energy to be supreme. Atyulbanai karnayor banavat pravishadbhihi parushavakyaihi marmasu taditah api gatavyatha. So, because he was pierced in his vital spots with such harsh words, harsh here does not only refer to, it does not mean actually coarse speech, rough speech. Some people, their voice itself is rough. It is not about that. This is about the attitude and the content of Duryodhana's speech. These were like arrows pierced into his ears. Tatra hetuhu. The reason for that, why he was distressed. Mayam ur bahumanayana ho mayaya mahatmyam ititam eva tatra hetu manyamanaha tad nisarana purvam swayameva ayan nirjagama. So he considered, oh, Maya is so great that she could create a situation where Duryodhana can speak something like this. So before anything actually happened, before Duryodhana actually threw him out, he himself left the place. Kim kritva ete nunam marishyanti kim dhanusha iti tasya dwari dhanu nidhaya. So he kept his bow by the door and he left because he thought they're anyway going to die due to their sinful and offensive activities. Yadva bhimadibhi sangatya asmabhir yotsyati iti maashankihi iti dhanuho nidhanam. It's one word actually. Dhanu nidhanam. Another meaning is he left that gate left his bow by the door because he did not want Duryodhana to think that now he's going to join up with Bhima and the others and he's going to attack us. While leaving the door, he symbolically communicated that no, nothing is not going to do it. There is another reading, variant reading here. Instead of Swayam, Chitsukha reads Smayan, Smayan Dhanur, which indicates that he was astonished. Saityam Atyulbana Karnavane Atyulbane Parusha Vakyar Karnayor Banirva Pravishya Marmasthaneshu Taditah Atrapi Bhratuh Purah Are Kimevam Brushe Ityapi Anuktavatah. Now, while all this was going on, this uh, Duryodhana was speaking all these things. Vidura noticed that this was happening right in front of Vidura's brother Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra was silent. He did not chastise Duryodhana. Hey, what are you speaking? Kim chet aditopi gatavyatah. Dhanyosi. Are Duryodhana, dhanyosi. Paya mama sarvapi vyatha nirvapita. यद इतः निसार्य मानस्य दूरे क्वचन तीर्थादिषु निर्विण्णतया स्थास्यतः त्वज्जनके ममतां त्यक्तवतः मम का व्यथा इति मनसि अनुलप्य इति भावः. The implication is that Vidura thought, Vidura first of all his anxiety was uh, over. He was no longer worried. Gatavyatah. He was not sorry. And that is because he thought, oh Duryodhana, good fortune unto you. You are fortunate. You are fortunate that all of my anxieties have been taken away by you. Now that I am leaving this place, I'm going to some faraway places, some holy places, with the spirit of detachment. And I've given up the consideration that your father is related with me. So I don't have any anxiety. So he lamented like this in his mind. Ayat, nirjagama swayam iti dushtair nissaranat swayameva nissaranam bhadram iti bhava. He felt it is far better to himself leave the place rather than be in a situation where evil people could forcibly throw him. Dhanurdvari nidhaya iti सम्प्रति सर्वं स्वगृहादिकम् अपि त्यक्तवतः विविक्ते क्वचित् उपविश्य कृष्णं भजिष्यतः मम किमनेन दुश्चिह्नेन धनुषा इति भावः. So when he left that bow by the gateway, this is what he was thinking, that now I'm giving up everything, including my house. So I'll go sit somewhere in some lonely spot and I will engage in devotion service to Lord Krishna. So then why do I need this evil, this symbol of evil, this bow? So therefore he left. Yadva bhimadibhi sangatya asmabhi saha yotsate iti papoyam ma shanketa iti dhanur nidhanam. And of course, the other reason is because he also felt that let this sinful Duryodhana not think that I'm going to catch up or I'm going to join hands with Bhima and others. Attack. Mayam. Purum. Purum. Purumanayana. Anayaniti. Mayaiva andhikritah purah santam api krishnam na pashyati. He considered that Maya is so powerful that he has been blinded, that even though Krishna is right in front of him, he is not recognizing Krishna's position. Yadva aho Maya mahatmyam bhagavata krishnasya yad evam prakarena mam svabhaktam itah nishkasya bhimadibhir nissamshayam ete ghata yishyanta iti. He was also thinking how powerful the Lord's Maya is. No, Maya also means mercy, Kripa. So, how much Krishna was so kind. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, he has made this arrangement to take me and his devotee in this manner. He has removed me from this inauspicious situation because he will certainly have Bhima and the others kill these people. A pure devotee of the Lord is never perturbed by an awkward position created by the external energy of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 3.27, it is stated, Prakriteh kriyamanani gunaih karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. A conditioned soul is absorbed in material existence under the influence of different modes of external energy, absorbed in the false ego. He thinks that he's doing everything by himself. The external energy of the Lord, the material nature, is fully under the control of the Supreme Lord, and the conditioned soul is fully under the grip of the external energy. Therefore, the conditioned soul is fully under the control of the law of the Lord. But due to illusion only, he thinks himself independent in his activities. Duryodhana was acting under such influence of the external nature, by which he would be vanquished at the ultimate end. He could not accept the sound advice of Vidura, but on the contrary, he insulted that great soul who was the well-wisher of his whole family. Vidura could understand this because he was a pure devotee of the Lord. In spite of being very strongly insulted by Duryodhana's words, Vidura could see that Duryodhana, under the influence of Maya, the external energy, was making progress on the path towards his own ruination. He therefore considered the acts of the external energy to be supreme, yet he also saw how the internal energy of the Lord helped him in that particular situation. A devotee is always in a renounced temperament because the worldly attractions can never satisfy him. Question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So this Prakriti Krimanane shloka, when we see, sometimes I feel that because in the temples or in any service, we depend on some devotees who are expertise in some special sevas. So actually the seva is done by that particular devotee only. But from this shloka, we see that we are not the doer. So how to understand this?
No, but this is about activities of Prakriti. This is about materialistic activities. It is not about activities of service to Lord Krishna. Activities of pure devotion service to Krishna directly come under Yogamaya. They don't come under Mahamaya. Okay. Vidura was never attracted by the royal palace of his brother. He was always ready to leave the place and devote himself completely to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Now he got the opportunity by the grace of Duryodhana. Instead of being sorry at the strong words of insult, he thanked him from within because it gave him the chance to live alone in a holy place and fully engage in the devotion service of the Lord. The word Gatavyathaha, without being sorry, is significant here because Vidura was relieved from the tribulations which trouble every man entangled in material activities. He therefore thought that there was no need to defend his brother with his bow because his brother was meant for ruination. Thus he left the palace before Duryodhana could act. Maya, the supreme energy of the Lord, acted here, both internally and externally. Question.
Prabhu, Prabhu, do devotees also, like pure devotees, feel pained when they hear insults, as in this case?
No, I could not hear clearly what are pure devotees. What?
They feel little pain on hearing such insulting words.
He did not expect Duryodhana to become so adharmic. He did not expect that. He thought that Duryodhana could be rectified at some point. So it was a big shock that Duryodhana continued to maintain such hatred towards the most compassionate Lord Krishna. See, one thing in Mahabharata, Mahabharata, of course, it's a very mysterious literature, I can say that, because there are various levels of meaning. It can be studied at the lowest level, that if you engage in dharma, you get artha kama in this life and later on. It's the lowest level of study. And then there's a higher level of study that through Mahabharata, through the depiction of various events that happen, that are portrayed in the Mahabharata, one can attain liberation, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, gradual liberation. And then there is also another higher perspective where one can understand how to fully surrender unto Lord Krishna, absolutely. So the general presentation that we see in Mahabharata is how they were considering Krishna. Even though Krishna is acknowledged in a number of statements of Mahabharata, that he is the one supreme Lord Vishnu. Vishnu is the supreme deity, all these things. Still, it portrays how exactly these people were talking. Like when certain persons are talking amongst themselves, some conspirators, like Duryodhana, Karna, Shakuni, and all that. Sometimes one full chapter is there on what Karna talks. One full chapter on what Shakuni talks. So from that we can clearly understand how these people were thinking about Lord Krishna. They just consider him just some pious soul, that's all. Because of piety, he has so many extraordinary powers, that's all. Only occasionally he had this flash that, okay, now he may be the supreme being himself. Maybe the supreme Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan, maybe that supreme being himself. Pure devotees are on the platform of souls, so how they get pain and suffering in that stage. How they feel pain that people don't surrender to Krishna, they have very serious misconceptions, they're going to destroy themselves. They see all these things. I think Dharmatma Prabhu had something to say or ask.
Yeah, I mean, so it meant that Vidura was actually feeling compassion or pain for Duryodhana. It was not that he insulted him. So it was a pain towards Duryodhana that he could not be corrected. Was it?
It appears to be, because Vidura was also, look at his reaction. He just decided to go on pilgrimage. He wanted to meditate on Lord Krishna. Even if we take it that he was experiencing pain, this is to teach us that when we are put in these kind of painful situations, we should also do what Vidura had done. That's another lesson for us. Question?
Prabhu, we have heard that when these Mayavadis describe Lord, then Lord feels pain. And I don't exactly remember where, but Srila Prabhupada also mentioned something like Lord is a person like us, so he also feels pleasure and pain.
Correct. Yes.
So, but we see that one who is on Brahma Bhuta platform, he is not affected. So, if how these things can affect Lord if his devotees are not affected?
The Supreme Lord's feeling pleasure or pain in this regard is purely considering the consequences of having certain attitudes and engaging in certain activities. That is all. Krishna does not have a sense of superiority complex. Otherwise, why would he expand himself as Paramatma and accompany each Jivatma in Prapancha, in material existence? So, Krishna does not have any ego issue with anyone. Same thing with those who are exalted souls. They're empowered by Yogamaya, therefore they feel happy or they feel unhappy. But that is not like materialistic souls who feel happy or unhappy when we are glorified, when we are criticized. Not like that. Okay, let's move on. 17. Sanirgatah Kaurava Punya Labdho Gajahvaya Tirtha Padah Padani and Vakramat Punya Chikir Shayorvyam Atishtito Yani Sahasramurti. By his piety, Vidura achieved the advantages of the pious Kauravas. After leaving Hastinapura, he took shelter of many places of pilgrimages, which are the Lord's lotus feet. With a desire to attain a higher order of pious life, he traveled to holy places where thousands of transcendental forms of the Lord are situated. Tato nirgatasya tirtha atana prakaramaha sa iti ashtabhihi. Then in 8 verses, beginning with the current verse, he points out how Vidura went on pilgrimage to holy places after leaving this place. So Gajahvayan Nirgataha sams tirtham pado yasya tasya hare padani kshetrani punya chikirshaya vakramat pratyapadyata. They left Hastinapur. We went to various places of pilgrimages, which are actually the Lord's lotus feet. Kauravanam punyena labdha iti tesham bhagyameva tena rupena gatam iti suchittam. It is simply by the piety of the Kauravas that in this manner he left that situation. Urvyam Sahasramurti Brahma Rudradhya Aneka Murti Sams Tirtha Padyani Yani Adhishtaya Sitaha Tani Tani Jagama Ityata. So he went to various holy places where the Supreme Lord in thousands of his different forms, such as Brahma, Rudra, they are also his extended forms. The Lord has his own forms, the Vishnu Tattva forms, but he also has his extended forms. Extended forms mean these Gunavataras and so on. So he went on to holy places. When devotees like Vidura, when they go to a holy place, we find Balaram's pilgrimage described in Bhagavatam. He goes to holy places connected to Lord Shiva also. I was just reading the other day. He goes to holy places connected to Lord Shiva. So what does he see? He sees, okay, here is Lord Shiva, a great devotee of Lord Krishna. When he sees Durga, then okay, here is Durga, great devotee of Lord Krishna. So that is how they understand. They don't misconceive Durga herself to be a plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. That misconception they don't have. Anvakramat anukramena prapa punya chikirshaya tad dursanga prayaschitta ichchaya. Punya chikirshaya also indicates that Vidura, he wanted to execute an atonement. The atonement of having engaged in association with them. The evil association with them has produced certain evil effects which he wanted to get rid of, for which as a prayaschitta or as atonement he went on this pilgrimages. Ataha sadosham manyaha. So he considered himself to be in a defective state. Sahasa Shri Krishna api drashtum na jagama iti bhava. So he therefore did not directly go to take shelter, to meet Lord Krishna and take shelter of him. Purostadvamsyanam cha punyena labdha iti tesham bhagyameva tena rupena gatam iti suchittam tirtham pado yasya tasya harer iti charanaudyaiva adrishanam tirtha driksha iti suchittam. So here tirtha padani indicate that Vidura, he went to these holy places considering them to be the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Padani kshetrani sahasramurtir matsya kurmadi aneka murti san yani yani adhisthaya stitaha. So primarily he went to places of pilgrimage where the Lord in thousands of his Vishnu Tattva forms such as Matsya, Kurma, they were present. primarily his pilgrimage was in relationship with the direct worship of the Supreme Lord. Vidura was undoubtedly a highly elevated and pious soul. Otherwise, he would not have taken his birth in the Kaurava family. To have high parentage, to possess wealth, to be highly learned, and to have great personal beauty are all due to past pious acts. But such pious positions are not sufficient for obtaining the grace of the Lord and being engaged in his transcendental loving service. Vidura considered himself less pious, and therefore he decided to travel to all the great places of pilgrimage in the world in order to achieve greater piety and advance nearer to the Lord. At that time, Lord Krishna was personally present in the world, and Vidura could have at once approached him directly, but he did not do so because he was not sufficiently freed from sin. One cannot be 100% devoted to the Lord unless and until he is completely free from all effects of sin. Vidura was conscious that by the association of the diplomatic Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, he had lost his piety and was therefore not fit to associate at once with the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 7.28, this is confirmed in the following verse: Yesham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandvamoha nirmukta bhajante mam dridha vratta. Persons who are sinful asuras like Kamsa and Jarasandha cannot think of Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth. Only those who are pure devotees, those who follow the regulative principles of religious life as prescribed in the scriptures, are able to engage themselves in Karma Yoga and then Jnana Yoga, and thereafter by pure meditation can understand pure consciousness. When God consciousness is developed, one can take advantage of the association of pure devotees. Syan Mahat Sevaya Viprah Punya Tirthan Nishevana. One is able to associate with the Lord even during the existence of this life. Places of pilgrimage are meant for eradicating the sins of the pilgrims, and they are distributed all over the universe just to give facility to all concerned for attaining pure existence and God realization. One should not be satisfied, however, merely by visiting the places of pilgrimage and performing one's prescribed duties. We should be eager to meet the great souls who are already there, engaged in the service of the Lord. In each and every place of pilgrimage, the Lord is present in his various transcendental forms. These forms are called Archamurtis, the forms of the Lord, which can be easily appreciated by the common man. The Lord is transcendental to our mundane senses. He cannot be seen with our present eyes, nor can he be heard with our present ears. To the degree that we have entered into the service of the Lord, or to the proportion that our lives are freed from sins, we can perceive the Lord. But even though we are not free from sins, the Lord is kind enough to allow us the facility of seeing him in his Archamurtis in the temple. The Lord is all powerful, and therefore he is able to accept our service by presentation of his Archa form. No one, therefore, should foolishly think the Archa in the temple to be an idol. Such an Archamurti is not an idol, but the Lord himself. And to the proportion that one is free from sins, he is able to know the significance of the Archamurti. The guidance of a pure devotee is therefore always required. In the land of Bharatavarsha, there are many hundreds and thousands of places of pilgrimage distributed all over the country. And by traditional practice, the common man visits such holy places during all seasons of the year. This is all the greatness of Vedic civilization. In Vedic civilization, the people are allowed to engage in kama and earn artha, wealth, in order to enjoy kama. But it is always presented with considerations of acquiring dharma and moksha. So therefore, these arrangements for pilgrimages, they're all there. The Lord is present at Mathura, the birthplace of Lord Krishna, as Adi Keshava. Lord is present at Puri, Orissa, as Lord Jagannath, also known as Purushottama. He is present at Allahabad, Prayag, as Bindu Madhava. At Mandara Hill, he is present as Madhusudana. In Anandaranya, he is known as Vasudeva, Padmanabha, and Janardhana. At Vishnu Kanchi, he is known as Vishnu. And at Mayapur, it should be Mayapuri, he is known as Hari. This Mayapuri is the name of Haridwar. There are millions and billions of such Archa forms of the Lord distributed all over the universe. All these Archamurtis are summarized in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the following words: Sarvatra Prakashtar Bhakte Sukh Dite Jagater Adharmanashi Dharma Sthapite. The Lord has so distributed himself all over the universe just to give pleasure to the devotees. to give the common man facility to eradicate his sins and to establish religious principles in the world. One I thought I saw. What is this perceiving the Lord? What is this perceiving the Lord? What is this perceiving? What is this perceiving the Lord? What is this with reference to? Where does it say perceiving the Lord? To the degree we have entered into the service of the Lord, or to the proportion that our lives are freed from sin, we can perceive the Lord. We'll be able to initially sense the presence of the Lord, and then later on we'll be able to actually see the Lord. From the stage of Bhava Bhakti, one directly begins to experience the Supreme Lord. Question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So here we see that he was not sufficiently freed from sins. So are the perfect,
He was not
sufficiently freed from sin. So
yes.
So are the perfect devotees or perfect pure devotees of the Lord, they are also affected by sins, and was it so literally
No,
in this
perfect
case?
pure devotees of Krishna are not affected by sins.
So here in Vidura's case, is he showing some example, or was he literally
Vidura
affected?
was thinking like this. Vidura was thinking like this. Vidura was thinking like this. Okay, there's some question in the chat box. How we got our temple name? Mayapur. It is not our temple name, it is Haridwar, it is Mayapuri. No, I am asking about our Mayapur, how it was named. Mayapur name has been traditionally, it's been there. In Bhakti-ratnakar, clearly the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described as Mayapur. Mayapur has been, it's the name of a place. It's a land of mercy. Maya means mercy. Okay, 18. Pureshu punyopavanadrakunje shapankatoyeshu sarit sarasu anantalingai samalankriteshu chachara tirtha yataneshwananya. He began to travel alone, thinking only of Krishna, through various holy places like Ayodhya, Dwaraka, and Mathura. He traveled where the grove, hill, orchard, river, and lake are all pure and sinless, and where the forms of the unlimited decorate the temples. Thus he performed the pilgrim's progress. Punyani yani upavana adini, teshu kunjam lata adi gudhasthanam. Apankani toyani yeshabteshu sarit sarasu cha tirtheshu ayadaneshu khetreshu cha idrisheshu anantasya lingai murtivi samyak alankriteshu. Ananya ekaki was alone. Pureshu prasiddeshu na vidyate pankam papam yebhyah teshu papahantrishu toyeshu. Apankatoyeshu. That means in the sinless waters. Which means because of those waters, we will be freed from the mud of sinful reactions. We will destroy these sinful reactions. Ananyaha. Sarvatra Shri Krishnaika Drishtihi. Ananya means alone. Which further indicates that we saw Lord Shri Krishna everywhere. Ananyaka. These archa forms of the Lord may be considered idols by the atheists, but that does not matter for persons like Vidura or his many other servants. The forms of the Lord are mentioned here as Anantalinga. Anantalinga. Anantalingaihi. The forms of the unlimited. So he has Ananta Shakti. Such forms of the Lord have unlimited potency, the same as that of the Lord himself. There is no difference between the potencies of the Archa and those of the personal forms of the Lord. The example of the post box and post office may be applied here. The little post boxes distributed all over the city have the same potency as the postal system in general. The duty of the post office is to carry letters from one place to another. If one puts letters in post boxes authorized by the general post office, the function of carrying letters is performed without a doubt. Similarly, the Archamurti can also deliver the same unlimited potency of the Lord as when he is personally present. Vidura therefore could see nothing but Krishna in the different archa forms, and ultimately he was able to realize Krishna alone and nothing else. Chat box. Now, although I serve the deities, I don't feel any kind of presence of the Lord. What do you mean we feel presence of the Lord? As we progress in Krishna consciousness, we recognize that Krishna is actually helping me in various ways. When we make spiritual progress, we recognize. Question.
Prabhuji, this feeling the Lord in deities, is it also is it happening only with the duly installed deities or any deities? Like there are some prana pratishtha done, and then there are some deities who are just like they are brought by devotees and they start worshipping without any formal pratishtha.
Maybe for that only in ISKCON we have so many nice protocols for deity worship. Overall, it is all very auspicious to follow them. That we have to install the deities and only then we can serve. These protocols are very useful. They're very useful. It's worth trying to follow these things. Deity worship is very much a part of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, and Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti means means to follow the scriptures, the detailed regulations of the scriptures. The chat box, how to progress, what protocols do you recommend? Or the protocols are already there. There's one booklet, Upadeshamrita. It is Rupa Goswami's own summary of everything that he wanted to tell the world. Step by step, we should attempt to follow the instructions that he gives, along with the instructions given by Prabhupada in his purport to each of those verses. So each verse can be considered one set of instructions. So first of all, let us think about how to fulfill the first set of instructions of Prabhupada and Rupa Goswami. That is the very first verse. So once we become accomplished in that, then we move our focus to the second verse and purport. And like that, in that way, that will be probably, it will make things much more smoother. 19. Gam paryatan medhya vivikta vritti sadapluto shayano vadhutaha alakshitay swair avadhuta vesho vratani chere haritoshanani. While so traversing the earth, he simply performed duties to please the Supreme Lord Hari. His occupation was pure and independent. He was constantly sanctified by taking his bath in holy places, although he was in the dress of a mendicant and had no hairdressing, nor a bed on which to lie. Thus, he was always unseen by his various relatives. Ekasyeva chakram sainyam yasyam. What is that? No. This anti, right? Kimcha gam paryatan vatani chere acharvat. Medhya, pavitra, vikta, asankirna, vrittir, jivika, yasya. His occupation was pure and independent. Sada plutaha. Patitirtham snataha. Is constantly sanctified by taking his bath in holy places. Adhaha shayanam yasya. Avadhuto asamskrita dehaha. Avadhuta vesha valkaladi dhari. He was wearing the dress of a mendicant, bark, cloth made of bark, and so on. Ataiva swair alakshitaha. Viviktatvam. Paravrittibhir amishratvam. So he was alone, meaning that he was not mixing with, his activities were not in line with the activities of the others. Ram Prithvim Medhya Pavitra Vikta Vritantarena Mishrita Vritti Jivika Yasya Saha Sadaprata Patitirtham Snatayati Snanena Pavitriyam Lakshiyate. So in that way he was constantly sanctified because he was taking bath in these holy places. Snananantaram Kadachit अस्पृश्य स्पर्शे पुनरपि स्नाति इति सदा भगवन् मंत्रादि स्मरणार्थं पवित्र एव तिष्ठति इति अर्थः. If after taking bath he touched something which was not meant to be touched, again he would take bath. And in that way he maintained his purity so that he would be capable of remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the mantras related to him, and so on. Avadhutaha, Samskrita Deha, Avadhuta Vesha, Valpaladithari, Atayava Swayam Rakshita. The first and foremost duty of a pilgrim is to satisfy the Supreme Lord Hari. While traveling as a pilgrim, one should not be worried about pleasing society. There is no need to depend on social formalities or occupation or dress. One should remain always absorbed in the function of pleasing the Lord. Thus, sanctified by thought and action, one is able to realize the Supreme Lord by the process of a pilgrim's journey. 20. Itham vrajan bharatameva varsham kalena yavat gatavan prabhasam tavat chashasa kshitimeka chakram ekatapatram ajitena partha. Thus, when he was in the land of Bharatavarsha, traveling to all the places of pilgrimage, he visited Prabhasa Kshetra. At that time, Maharaj Yudhishthira was emperor and held the world under one military strength and one flag. Ekasev chakram sainyam yasyam ekameva rajachikhnam shvetatapatram yasyam tam. He had one royal umbrella, white royal umbrella, Yudhishthira. Ajitena, Shri Krishnena Sahayana, because he was assisted by the unconquerable Lord Shri Krishna, by the mercy of the unconquerable Krishna. Bharatameva varsham तन्मध्यवर्ती कुमारिका खंडम एव ज्ञेयम विष्णु पुराण अनुसारेण अन्यत्र अगम्यत्वात्. So he went to various places only within Bharatavarsha. That too, this Kumarika Khanda, the central portion of Bharatavarsha. This should be understood from Vishnu Purana because according to Vishnu Purana, it is not possible to go to any other place. Ekaseva chakram sainyam yasyam ekameva rajyam shvetadro. Itena Shri Krishnena Sahayena hetuna parthaha. It's only because of Krishna's mercy that Yudhishthira was the emperor and so on. More than 5,000 years ago, while Saint Vidura was traveling the earth as a pilgrim, India was known as Bharatavarsha as it is known even today. The history of the world cannot give any systematic account for more than 3,000 years into the past, but before that the whole world was under the flag and military strength of Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was the emperor of the world. At present there are hundreds and thousands of flags flapping in the United Nations. But during the time of Vidura, there was, by the grace of Ajita, Lord Krishna, only one flag. Literally speaking, there are some little more than 200 flags under the United Nations. But there are also constant declared and undeclared wars, which signifies that several more flags are in the minds of the people whose countries are in the United Nations. The nations of the world are very eager to again have one state under one flag. But for this, they must seek the favor of Lord Krishna, who alone can help us become one worldwide nation. Tatraatha shushrava suhrid vinashtim vanam yatha venuja vahni samshrayam samspardhaya dagdham mathanu shochan saraswatim pratyagyaya tushnim. At the place of pilgrimage at Prabhasa, it came to his knowledge that all his relatives had died due to violent passion, just as an entire forest burns due to the fire produced by the friction of bamboos. After this, he proceeded west, where the river Saraswati follows. Tatta Prabhase Parasparas Pradaya, Nimittam Bhutaya. Suhradam Kauravanam Vinashtim Vinashamashnot. So he heard that the persons whom about whom he had good wishes, the Kauravas, they were destroyed, caused by the mutual animosity between the different descendants of Kuru, the Pandavas and the Kauravas. Parasparam Nashe Drishtanta, the example is now given. Just as an entire forest burns due to the fire produced by the friction of bamboos, Venujam Vaknim Samshayati Yadvanam Tad Yatha Dagdam Bhavati Tatha Pratyak Udgama Abhimukham Pratyak Udgama Abhimukham. So he proceeded west. Sukhrid Vinashtamiti, Yadavanam Vinashtamiti eva Geyam. Srila Jiva Goswami makes an interesting remark that at this time, this is a reference to something else. It's a reference to the Yadavas distinction. Because the Yadavas were his well-wishers, the Kauravas were not his well-wishers. Na ati vilambar eva Uddhavena milanat. Because he had met Uddhava, so he did not delay further. Tatra prabhase sukridam kauravanam vinashtim vinasham duryodhanadishu sauharda abhavat an ati vilambe eva Uddhava milanacha sukridam yadavanam iti kechid vyachakshate. Because Duryodhana and others did not have good wishes towards Vidura, without much delay, Vidura had also met Uddhava. Some authorities interpret Sukhridam to refer to the Yadavas. Varam yatha dagdam bhavati iti anvaya. Pratyak pratichim paschima vakhnim iti artha. Pratyak means westward. Okay, right. Chat box. But we don't see nation want to be under one flag. Always there are wars only. That is unfortunate. But there are several thinkers who think that there should be no wars. We should all be united as one humanity. All these sentiments have been there. And very often they are brought out in public domain also after World War II. From that time, that is since mid-40s, since that time. Okay, question?
Prabhu, sometimes people ask that are there some evidences or some remains by which we can understand that this Vedic culture was spread throughout the world at some time, or it was ruled by one king?
There is this devotee, Stephen Knapp, Nandanandan Prabhu, who was recently awarded by the President of India. He has written some books on Vedic culture having been present throughout the world. He did some research.
Okay.
Both the Kauravas and the Yadavas were relatives of Vidura, and Vidura heard of their extinction due to fratricidal war. They had their own, the descendants of Kuru, the descendants of Yadu. They were relatives of Vidura in different ways, and both of them got extinguished due to their own fratricidal wars. The comparison of the friction of forest bamboos to that of passionate human societies is appropriate. The whole world is compared to a forest. At any moment, there may be a flare-up of fire in the forest due to friction. No one goes to the forest to set it on fire, but due only to friction between bamboos, fire takes place and burns an entire forest. Similarly, in the greater forest of worldly transaction, the fire of war takes place because of the violent passion of the conditioned souls, illusioned by the external energy. Such a worldly fire can be extinguished only by the water of the mercy cloud of saints, just as a forest fire can be extinguished only by rains falling from a cloud. Tasyam 22. Tasyam tritasyo shanaso manosya prithorathagne rasitasya vayo tirtham sudasasya gavam duhasya yat shraddha devasya sa asisheve. On the bank of the river Saraswati, there were 11 places of pilgrimage, namely Trita, Ushana, Manu, Prithu, Agni, Asita, Vayu, Sudasa, Go, Guha, and Shraddha Deva. Vidura visited all of them and duly performed rituals. धृतादीनाम् एकादश तीर्थानि तत्तन्नाम्ना प्रसिद्धानि आसेवितवान्. 23. अन्यानि चेहद् द्विजदेवदेवैः कृतानि नानायतनानि विष्णो प्रत्यङ्गमुख्याङ्कितमन्दिराणि यद्दर्शनात् कृष्णमनुस्मरन्ति. There are also many other temples of various forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead established by great sages and demigods. These temples were marked with the chief emblems of the Lord, and they reminded one always of the original personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Pratyangamukhya, Madhvacharya reads it as Pratyangamukhya, by which he understands this to be a reference to Lord Vishnu. Brahma Pratyankavan Vishnu Samyak Lakshanavat Tamaha iti Tantramalaya. It's referring to a scripture, Tantramala, where Vishnu is referred to in this manner. Dvija Devair Rishibhihi Devaishya Kirtani Angam Prati Vartante iti Pratyangani Ayuthani Teshu Mukhyam Chakram Tena Ankitani Murdhanya Hema Kumbheshu Chihnitani Mandirani. So here, Pratyanga Mukhyankita Mandirani is one word, and it refers to temples which have as a symbol the most important of Lord Vishnu's weapons, that is his Sudarshan Chakra at the top. Yeshu tani nanavidhani Vishnu ayatanani kshetrani tirthani asisheve. Yesham chakrankita mandiravatam darshana Shri Krishna sparnam bhavati. By simply looking at temples which have the Sudarshan Chakra, immediately one remembers Lord Shri Krishna. Human society is divided into 4 social orders of life and 4 spiritual divisions applying to each and every individual person. This system is called Varnashrama Dharma and has already been discussed in many places in this great literature. The sages or persons who completely devote themselves to the spiritual upliftment of the entire human society were known as Dvijadeva, the best amongst the twice born. The denizens of superior planets, from the moon planet and upwards, were known as Devas. Both the Dvijadevas and the Devas always established temples of Lord Vishnu in his various forms, such as Govinda, Madhusudana, Nrisimha, Madhava, Keshava, Narayana, Padmanabha, Parthasarthi, and many others. The Lord expands himself in innumerable forms, but all of them are non-different from one another. Lord Vishnu has 4 hands, and each hand holds a particular item, either a conch shell, wheel, club, or lotus flower. Of these 4 emblems, the chakra or wheel is the chief. Lord Krishna, being the original Vishnu form, has only one emblem, namely the wheel, and therefore he is sometimes called the Chakri, the possessor of the chakra, the disc, the discus. The Lord's chakra is a symbol of the power by which the Lord controls the whole manifestation. The tops of Vishnu temples are marked with the symbol of the wheel so that people may have the chance to see the symbol from a very long distance and at once remember Lord Krishna. The purpose of building very high temples is to give people a chance to see them from a distant place. This system is carried on in India. Whenever a new temple is constructed, it appears that it is coming down from a time before recorded history. The foolish propaganda by atheists that temples were constructed only in later days is refuted here because Vidura visited these temples at least 5,000 years ago, and the temples of Vishnu were in existence long before Vidura visited them. The great sages and demigods never established statues of men or demigods, but they established temples of Vishnu for the benefit of common men to raise them to the platform of God consciousness. So when it says they never established statues of men or demigods, even the demigods here, they refer to imaginary demigods. The great sages and demigods don't establish these kinds of temples. Whereas even if they do, on the order of Lord Vishnu, if they do have to install some temple for the demigod, for a demigod like Lord Shiva, etc., it is still done in such a manner that Vishnu's worship is always prominent. It's only in Kali Yuga where people misunderstand the hierarchy. But prior to that, they more or less had a very clear understanding. The Brahmanas are meant to worship Lord Vishnu. Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. So it was always understood. These things were very clearly understood because Lord Vishnu is the controller of the mode of goodness also. So unless you come to the mode of goodness, you will not be inclined to worship Lord Vishnu. There's a lot of considerations here. The demigods are certainly not very happy to install themselves in the temple, in various temple forms, in the form of deities in temples. 24. Catuspathi vrajya surashtram riddham sauvira matsyan kurujangalamsya kalena tavad yamanamupetya tatrodhavam bhagavatam dadarsha. Thereafter, he passed through very wealthy provinces like Surat, Sauvira, and Matsya, and through western India known as Kurujangala. At last, he reached the bank of the Yamuna, where he happened to meet Uddhava, the great devotee of Lord Krishna. Ativrajya, Atikramya. Yavad Uddhava praptaha, tavad swayamapi yamanamupetya. The tract of land comprising about 100 square miles from modern Delhi to the Mathura district in Uttar Pradesh, including a portion of the Gurgaon district in Punjab, East India, is considered to be the topmost place of pilgrimage in all of India. This land is sacred because Lord Krishna traveled through it many times. From the very beginning of his appearance, he was at Mathura in the house of his maternal uncle Kamsa, and he was reared by his foster father Maharaj Nanda at Vrindavan. There are still many devotees of the Lord lingering there in ecstasy in search of Krishna and his childhood associates, the gopis. It is not that such devotees meet Krishna face to face in that tract of land, but a devotee is eagerly searching after Krishna is as good as his seeing him personally. How this is so cannot be explained, but it is factually realized by those who are pure devotees of the Lord. Philosophically, one can understand that Lord Krishna and his remembrance are on the absolute plane, and that the very idea of searching for him at Vrindavan in pure God consciousness gives more pleasure to the devotee than seeing him face to face. Such devotees of the Lord see him face to face at every moment, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita 5.38. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santas sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. Yam shyama sundaram achintya gunaswarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Those who are in ecstasy of love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shyamasundara Krishna, see him always in their hearts due to love and devotion service rendered to the Lord. Both Vidura and Uddhava were such elevated devotees, and therefore they both came to the bank of the Yamuna, met each other. Okay, I'll stop with this. I'll put a note here. The next starting point will be 1.25. Tomorrow is supposed to be Achyutanand Prabhu's lecture. So this should be for 45 minutes. And then 15 minutes of, maximum 15 minutes of comments plus questions. Okay. So we'll stop with that. Panchakalpatarubhyasya prasindabhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.